Hello and welcome to Magic in the Middle. I'm your host, Jessica Vitalis, and today we're talking about a book that doesn't necessarily fit neatly into the fantasy category. It's a little bit horror, a little bit mystery, and a little sci-fi, or maybe even a little dystopian. In fact, I was so confused about how to categorize this book that I reached out to the author, Chad Lucas, who said that he had no idea either. But the fact that this book doesn't fit neatly into a category does not mean that it is not worth reading, because it definitely is. With that in mind, it's my pleasure to introduce this month's selection, Let the Monster Out. I want to start with the cover of this book because there is so much that hints at the story to come if you stop and give it a close look. At first glance, your eyes are pulled to the four boys, but when you look more closely, your eyes notice a creepy clown face up in the corner, the blood coming from the shards of glass, and then something that hints at science or tech, and something that seems to be a polar bear. Now, you might be wondering how all of that fits together, which is a question I'm not going to answer, but I can tell you that this book has two main characters. The first is Bones Malone, who is the only black kid in his town, and he loves to play baseball but harbors a lot of guilt about his father, who no longer lives with them. His anger causes him to act out, which tends to get him in a fair amount of trouble. The second main character is a boy by the name of Kyle Specs, who believes that he's neurodivergent, but he's not certain because his parents won't let him get tested. Now, Bones and Kyle strike up an unlikely friendship when things start to get weird in their town. People start acting like zombies, and the boys find themselves linked in their dreams. When they find a journal that might hold the key to sorting out the town's troubles, Bones talks Kyle into investigating in a wonderful passage that starts like this. "We've stumbled into something big." Bones stretched his arms to make the point. "Like a stealth alien invasion, or a spooky cult, or a government conspiracy. Maybe all three. And someone's always the first to notice when things get freaky." He slugged Kyle's shoulder. "We are those guys, Kyle. Like I'm Will Smith and you're the brainy science guy who figures out the aliens' weaknesses, and together we blow stuff up." Kyle blinked. "What?" "Will Smith fighting aliens was the whole thing in the 90s. My mom loves those movies. Anyway, the point is we might have to save Langville." So whatever was happening, Kyle suspected there was a more logical explanation than a secret government-backed alien cult, but he couldn't help being swept up in Bones' enthusiasm. The boys end up breaking all sorts of rules and even the law when they steal a preacher's truck to get to the bottom of who or what is controlling the people in their town. Eventually, their investigation lands them in a whole pile of trouble, and in order to save themselves, they have to face their own monsters. Now, this story tackles big topics like abuse and race and corporate greed, but at its heart, it's a story about two boys who are trying their best. They make plenty of mistakes, but they never give up on themselves, their town, or each other. It's filled with heart, but the author writes with a light touch, and there's plenty of humor. Readers will find lots to relate to in both boys as they navigate real-world issues like their first sleepovers and getting their first cell phones. I absolutely loved Let the Monster Out by author Chad Lucas, and I think you will too. So that is it for this month. Please join me again next month for more Magic in the Middle.